Captain Ethan Wright stood on the bridge of the starship Harbinger his face tight with disbelief as he read the message again. The words glowed on the screen, simple yet world-shattering. Return protocol initiated. All vessels withdraw. After serving for 15 years in deep space, exploring and building connections with alien civilizations, Earth was calling everyone home. "Is this real?" asked his second officer, Megan Young. Her normally steady voice wavered slightly. Ethan nodded slowly. "Authentication codes check out. It's from the United Government, highest authority." The bridge fell silent. Through the massive viewports, the glittering spires of the Galactic Coalition's Central Space Station still shone against the backdrop of stars. Just yesterday, they had submitted Earth's third petition for membership. Today, they had their answer. Denied. "They said no again," Ethan said, breaking the silence. "And this time, Earth isn't asking anymore." The Coalition had cited unpredictable biological and psychological variables as their reason. In simple terms, humans were too unpredictable, too emotional, too quick to change and adapt. The very qualities that had helped humanity survive and thrive were now being used against them. "Begin recall of all personnel," Ethan ordered. "Prepare departure protocols." Across the galaxy, the same scene played out on hundreds of human vessels and outposts. Humanity was turning its back on the stars. Lisa Blackwood watched her crew pack up the research station on Orion Outpost 7. After 5 years studying alien biology, they had made breakthroughs that benefited both humans and 3 other species. Now all that work would stop. "They'll miss us when we're gone," she said to Alan Foster, her deputy, as they cataloged samples for transport. Alan shrugged, carefully placing a frozen tissue sample into a storage container. "Will they, though?" The Exarthan representative seemed pretty happy to see us packing up. "That's because he doesn't understand yet," Lisa replied. "Nobody does. Not even us." 2 days later, Lisa stood on the observation deck, watching the stars. This would be her last night on the outpost. In the morning, they would lock the doors and leave behind years of research and relationships. An alien ship approached the station, its lights blinking in a pattern Lisa recognized. It was Dr. Kelmar, a scientist from the Brel species who had worked closely with her team. "You're really leaving?" Kelmar's voice came through the communication system, the translator giving it a flat, mechanical tone that couldn't hide the confusion. "We are," Lisa confirmed. "Earth has withdrawn from all galactic affairs. But your work here, our work, it's important," Kelmar protested. The Coalition's decision was political. Many of us disagreed. "Not enough of you," Lisa said, trying to keep the bitterness from her voice. "Earth has tried 3 times to join as equals. We're done trying to prove ourselves." After Kelmar's ship departed, Lisa joined the final meeting with her team. 20 humans sat around the conference table, faces showing a mix of anger, sadness, and uncertainty. "Tomorrow we head home," she told them. "Earth is focusing inward now. No more reaching out to those who don't want us." "What happens to all our work?" asked Dr. Sam Rivera, their youngest researcher. "It stays here. Maybe they'll continue it, maybe not." As the meeting ended, Lisa took one last walk through the empty labs. Machines were shut down, samples were either packed or stored, and the rooms that had once buzzed with activity now stood silent. Alan found her staring out at the stars again. "The transport's ready," he said quietly. "Last shuttle leaves in an hour." Lisa nodded. "Do you think we're making a mistake by leaving?" "I don't know. But being treated as second class by the Coalition was definitely a mistake. Maybe they need to learn what the galaxy is like without us." As the last human shuttle pulled away from the outpost, Lisa watched the structure grow smaller through the viewport. For all their advanced technology and supposed wisdom, the Coalition had made a critical error in judgment. They had assumed humanity needed them more than they needed humanity. Time would tell who was right. 5 years passed since humanity withdrew from galactic affairs. Paul Davis wiped sweat from his forehead as he checked the security systems on his small trading ship. The spaceport on Keldora was busier than usual, but not in a good way. Ships crowded the docking areas, many showing damage from recent attacks. Paul had chosen to stay in alien space when Earth called everyone home. His business was here, and he had no family left on Earth. Now, he was one of the few humans still operating in the galaxy, which made him both valuable and vulnerable. Another supply ship hit by Merivian pirates, said a blue-skinned dock worker as Paul paid his landing fee. Third one this month. Never used to happen when human patrols were in this sector. Paul nodded. The Merivian pirates had always been a problem, but the human peacekeeping forces had kept them under control. Without that presence, the pirates grew bolder each month, attacking shipping lanes that were once considered safe. Maybe someone should tell the coalition, Paul suggested. The dock worker made a clicking sound that passed for laughter among his species. They know. They just don't have anyone who can replace your people. Later that day, Paul met with his regular clients in a busy trading hall. Merchants from a dozen species haggled over goods, but Paul noticed something different. Many shelves that should hold advanced medical supplies and technological components were empty. Grell, a six-limbed merchant who bought Earth textiles from Paul, seemed worried. Prices keep rising on everything from Centauri Prime, Grell said. Their research outputs are down 60% since you humans left. They have their own scientists, Paul pointed out. Yes, but something is missing now. Your people brought a different way of thinking. The Centauri researchers are brilliant, but they follow patterns. Humans jumped between ideas in ways no one expected. As Paul walked back to his ship with a much smaller payment than usual, he passed a public viewing screen showing news from across the galaxy. A reporter was talking about food shortages on 3 worlds after crop failures. The systems that monitored and adjusted growing conditions had started to fail without regular updates. On his ship, Paul received a message request from an unexpected source. The face that appeared on his screen belonged to Susan Morgan, one of the few human diplomatic consultants still working with alien governments. "How's business?" Susan asked after they exchanged greetings. "Getting worse," Paul admitted. "Yours?" Susan's laugh was bitter. "I just quit. The Exalthorians offered me triple my usual fee to stay. But I've had enough." "What happened?" Ambassador Crevan finally admitted they made a mistake by pushing humans away. He said, and I quote, "The humans were chaotic, yes, but they served a purpose in our ecosystem." Susan shook her head. 5 years of saying this, and they're just now starting to listen. Paul wasn't surprised. Things are falling apart out here. Pirates, supply shortages, systems failing. It's not just that. Susan leaned closer to her camera. There's something bigger happening. Some systems are experiencing strange energy fluctuations. Technologies that worked perfectly for centuries are becoming unstable. And they think it's connected to humans leaving. They're starting to wonder. The timing matches. Susan looked tired. "I'm heading to New Anchorage. There's a small human colony there that operates independently from Earth. You should consider joining us." After Susan signed off, Paul stood at his viewport, watching alien ships come and go. He'd stayed because he believed in galactic cooperation, even when Earth gave up. Now he wondered if humanity's withdrawal was more than just a political statement. Maybe humans played a role in the galaxy that no one, not even humans themselves, fully understood. And maybe the coalition would soon learn just how important that role was. Paul set course for his next delivery, thinking about Susan's offer. If things kept getting worse, New Anchorage might become very important indeed. 10 years had passed since Earth closed its borders to the galaxy. Jack Miller stood on his porch on New Dakota, a frontier world at the edge of what was once human space. Though technically independent from Earth, most residents here were human, living simple lives far from both Earth politics and alien interference. Jack had once been Admiral Miller of the Earth Fleet. Now he was just a farmer with too many memories. He sipped his coffee as he watched the news feed projected on his wall. The hive collected from the Sardis Nebula was expanding aggressively into neighboring systems. 3 worlds had already fallen. Never would have happened in my day, Jack muttered to himself. The hive had always been dangerous but contained. Human military vessels had maintained a careful blockade around their territory, preventing their spread while allowing enough trade to keep them peaceful. That balance was now gone. His communication system beeped, showing an incoming call from an old military channel. Jack frowned. Nobody had called him on that frequency in years. "Miller here," he answered. The face that appeared belonged to Commander Roy Adams, one of Jack's former officers who had chosen to remain on active duty with the independent human colonies. "Admiral," Roy said, using Jack's old rank, "we've got a situation. I'm watching the news about the hive, and I'm not an admiral anymore." Roy looked tired. "That's just the beginning. The hive knows exactly where to strike. They're targeting systems with failing defense networks, all places that once relied on human maintenance teams." Jack stood straighter. "How bad is it?" "Bad enough that the coalition is quietly reaching out to independent human military contractors. They're offering triple the usual rates. They made their choice 10 years ago," Jack said, his voice hardening. "Yes, sir, they did. But there are innocent people on those worlds." Roy paused. "I'm putting together a volunteer force. Mostly former Earth fleet. We're not doing it for the coalition. We're doing it for the civilians in harm's way." Jack stared out at his fields. He'd found peace here after years of service. But he couldn't ignore what was happening. "Send me the details," he said finally. Across the galaxy, another human was facing a similar request. Kate Wells stood in the gleaming central control room of the Gen Directorate's main terraforming facility. As lead engineer of a small human technical team, she had special permission to work in Gen space despite Earth's withdrawal. "The system is failing," said the Gen's supreme technologist, a tall, thin being with metallic skin. 7 planets in early terraforming stages have become unstable. Kate studied the readouts. The massive terraforming machinery, originally designed by humans but expanded by Gen engineers, was showing unusual errors. Environmental systems that had run perfectly for decades were now malfunctioning. "Your people made modifications to our original designs," Kate said, "without consulting us." The Gen looked uncomfortable. "We believed we had fully understood the technology." Kate shook her head. "Human engineering isn't just about following blueprints. There's intuition involved, understanding how systems interact in unexpected ways. We are prepared to offer significant compensation for your team to resolve this issue," the Gen said. 5 times your current contract rate." Kate thought about Earth's policy of non-interference. Her team operated in a gray area already, maintaining old human-built systems, but not sharing new advancements. "It's not about money," she said. "These are people's homes you're talking about. Billions will die if these systems fail completely." She made her decision. "I'll need direct access to your central planning database and authority to make emergency modifications." The Gen hesitated only briefly before nodding. "Granted." As Kate assembled her team, she received a message from an old colleague, Susan Morgan, now on New Anchorage. The message was simple. "Things are worse than they seem. Multiple crises converging. Humanity's absence is no coincidence. Contact me securely when you can." Kate stared at the message. Something bigger was happening, something beyond failing machinery and aggressive hive aliens. The galaxy was unraveling 10 years after humanity turned its back, exactly as some had predicted. 15 years had passed since humanity withdrew from galactic affairs. Earth had changed in that time. Without the need to please alien allies or match alien technology, humans followed their own path. Cities grew taller, ships flew faster, and people lived longer. Colonel Steve Donovan stood at his post aboard the orbital defense platform *Guardian*. The massive station protected Earth from any unwanted visitors, though few came these days. His quiet shift changed when the alarm sounded. "Sir, we have multiple ships approaching the outer system. reported his sensor officer, Andrea Clark. They've stopped at the warning boundary. Steve moved to the main screen. Identification. 7 vessels. Different designs from different species. Andrea looked up with surprise. It's a mixed delegation. I'm seeing Saltorian, Gen, Brel, even a Merivian ship. This was unusual. These species rarely work together, and some were traditional enemies. They're broadcasting a message, Andrea said. In standard human English, on all frequencies. Steve nodded. Let's hear it. The message was simple. We request audience with Earth's leadership. Matters of galactic survival are at stake. Within hours, the message reached Earth's united government. President Olivia Ross called an emergency meeting in the underground council chambers beneath New Washington. After 15 years of silence, suddenly they want to talk, said Admiral Ben Harper, who had replaced Jack Miller years ago. His face showed deep lines from years of maintaining Earth's defensive perimeter. I don't trust it. We should at least hear what they have to say, argued Dr. Nena Patel, Earth's leading expert on alien cultures. Though Earth had withdrawn, she had continued studying reports from independent colonies and traders. President Ross looked around the table at her advisors. What exactly are they asking for? They want a face-to-face meeting, replied Greg Martinez, Secretary of Interstellar Relations, a position that had been largely ceremonial for years. They're requesting permission to send representatives to Earth itself. Admiral Harper shook his head firmly. Absolutely not. No alien has set foot on Earth in 15 years, and we're safer for it. Then a neutral location, suggested Dr. Patel. The lunar colony at Armstrong City has facilities for interspecies meetings from the old days. The council debated late into the night. Some wanted nothing to do with the aliens who had rejected humanity. Others were curious about what could bring such different species together. Finally, President Ross made her decision. We will meet them on the moon. Limited delegation, maximum security. I want to know what's happening out there. She turned to Dr. Patel. You once told me that cutting ourselves off completely was a mistake. That knowledge of the galaxy was important, even if we didn't participate in it. Yes, Madam President. Knowledge is never a disadvantage. Then we'll listen. But that's all we promise for now. 3 days later, the alien delegation docked at Armstrong City. The lunar colony, once a bustling center for interspecies commerce, had been repurposed as a research station. Now its diplomatic facilities were hastily reopened. Greg Martinez led the Earth delegation, with Dr. Patel and several military officers, including Colonel Donovan. They waited in the large meeting chamber as the airlock cycled. The first alien to enter was High Chancellor Vorketh of the Vordeth Imperium, once the most powerful voice in the coalition. Greg remembered him as proud and dismissive of humans. Today, the tall, ridge-faced alien looked tired and moved with less confidence. Following him were representatives from 6 other major species. All looked similarly worn down. Something had clearly changed in the galaxy. Welcome to Armstrong City, Greg said formally. Earth has agreed to hear your message. The High Chancellor looked around the room, his eyes lingering on the armed human guards. We appreciate this opportunity, he said, his translator giving his words a flat tone. We come seeking help for a galaxy in crisis. Dr. Patel leaned forward. This wasn't the arrogant coalition she remembered. Something had humbled these once proud species, and after 15 years of isolation, Earth was about to learn exactly what happened when humanity turned its back. The meeting room in Armstrong City was silent as the alien delegation arranged themselves around the large table. High Chancellor Vorketh of the Vordeth Imperium sat directly across from Greg Martinez, Earth's Secretary of Interstellar Relations. We thank you for agreeing to this meeting. The High Chancellor began. His normally proud voice sounded strained. The situation in the galaxy has become difficult. Greg kept his face neutral. Please explain. The alien leader gestured to his companions. We represent the major powers of the Galactic Coalition. For the past 15 years, we have faced increasing challenges. At first, They seemed unrelated. Now we believe they are connected. A blue-skinned Tellurian stepped forward with a data device. This was unusual. Tellurians rarely spoke at diplomatic gatherings, preferring to analyze rather than engage. "We have analyzed the probability matrices," the Tellurian said in a precise voice. "There is a 97.3% correlation between your species' departure and the systemic failures we now face." Colonel Donovan frowned. "You're saying these problems are our fault?" "No," corrected the Gen representative quickly. "We are saying your absence appears to be a factor in the galaxy's decline." Dr. Patel leaned forward. "What kind of problems are we talking about?" The aliens shared uncomfortable glances before the High Chancellor continued. "Multiple crises have converged. Resource wars have broken out in 3 sectors. The Hive Collective expands unchecked. Vital technologies are failing, and most concerning, a mysterious plague affects multiple species, one that resists all known treatments." Greg listened with growing skepticism. "And this all happened because humans went home. That seems convenient." "We understand your doubt," said a Brel scientist. "We felt the same. That is why we conducted extensive research before coming here." The alien delegation presented evidence, charts, images, and data showing the galaxy's decline since humanity's withdrawal. They explained how human peacekeeping forces had maintained balances of power, how human scientists approached problems differently, finding solutions others missed, how human traders created unique economic networks. But there was something else, something they seemed reluctant to discuss. "You're not telling us everything," Dr. Patel said suddenly. "There's more to this than failed technology and political instability." The room fell silent until the Tellurian spoke again. "There appear to be fundamental physical changes occurring in certain regions of space. Energy patterns that have been stable for millennia are fluctuating. The evidence suggests these changes began shortly after human presence was removed." Greg exchanged glances with his team. This was unexpected. After hours of presentation and questions, the Earth delegation requested time to discuss privately. "They're desperate," observed Colonel Donovan once they were alone. "I never thought I'd see the High Chancellor looking scared. If even half of what they're saying is true, the galaxy is falling apart." Dr. Patel said. "And somehow they think we're the solution." Greg nodded. "The question is, what do we do with this information? Earth has prospered in isolation. Why should we help those who rejected us?" "Knowledge," Dr. Patel reminded him. "Learning what's happening out there is valuable regardless of what we decide to do about it." When they reconvened with the aliens, Greg Martinez spoke carefully. "Earth will need to verify your claims independently. We will send reconnaissance teams to assess the situation." The High Chancellor nodded quickly. "Of course, we will provide all necessary assistance." "This is not a commitment to help," Greg added firmly, "only to investigate." As the meeting ended, Laura Chen, Earth's chief negotiator who had observed silently until now, approached President Ross via secure channel. "Madam President, I studied their body language and speech patterns. They're telling the truth about the galaxy's condition, and they're truly afraid." She smiled slightly. "They need us more than we need them." For the first time, humanity negotiates from a position of absolute strength. The President considered this. "Prepare a full briefing on potential terms if we decide to re-engage. I want to know exactly what Earth can gain from this situation." As the alien ships departed lunar orbit, they carried a simple message back to their governments. Earth was considering their request. For species that had once dismissed humanity as unworthy of membership in their coalition, even this small response brought hope. Earth wasted no time sending reconnaissance teams to verify the aliens' claims. Commander Ryan Butler led the mission aboard the Spectre Asterisk, Earth's most advanced stealth vessel. Built during humanity's years of isolation, the ship could move through alien space undetected thanks to technology no alien had ever seen. "Stay alert," Ryan told his crew as they entered the Centauri system, once a major hub of galactic commerce. We observe only. No contact with any species. What they found shocked even the most skeptical crew members. The great trading stations orbiting Centauri Prime showed obvious signs of decay. Only a quarter of the docking bays had ships. Many sections appeared dark and abandoned. Scan for population, Ryan ordered. Population down 60% from our last records, reported his sensor officer. Energy output at less than half of normal levels. Similar scenes greeted them at every location they visited. The Tellurian homeworld, once famous for its gleaming cities, now had visible gaps in its power grid. The Gen's massive terraforming projects showed signs of failure, with 3 formerly habitable planets returning to their natural uninhabitable states. Most disturbing was what they found in the Orion sector. An entire solar system that once held 4 billion beings on 2 planets was under quarantine. The mysterious plague mentioned by the alien delegation had struck their first and hardest. No ships in or out, Ryan noted as they observed from a safe distance. They've completely sealed it off. After 3 weeks of reconnaissance, the Spectre had gathered enough evidence to confirm the aliens' claims. The galaxy truly was in decline, but the most startling discovery came from Dr. Maria White's team on Proxima Centauri II. Dr. White had been studying unexpected readings in the quantum field around formerly human-occupied areas. Her team set up equipment in the abandoned human colony that Lisa Blackwood had closed 15 years earlier. The readings make no sense, she told Ryan via secure channel. There's a subtle quantum field that appears to be weakening throughout this region of space. Our instruments show it was stable until almost exactly when humans withdrew. Ryan frowned. How could human presence affect quantum fields? That's what's fascinating, Dr. White said, her eyes bright with discovery. We're detecting similar quantum patterns in human brain activity. There's something about our neurological structure that somehow stabilizes these fields. Are you saying humans are naturally affecting the physical laws of space? Not changing them, Dr. White clarified. Supporting them, like a catalyst in a chemical reaction. Our presence somehow strengthens certain fundamental processes that alien technologies depend on without them even knowing it. Ryan struggled to understand. So it wasn't our technology or our diplomacy they needed. It's something in our very nature, Dr. White finished. Possibly our unique neurological structure or even our consciousness that acts as a catalyst for certain fundamental cosmic processes. When the reconnaissance teams returned to Earth with their findings, the news caused intense debate. The evidence was presented to Earth's leadership in a special council meeting. So we're what? The galaxy's battery? Asked Defense Secretary Frank Nelson incredulously. More like a stabilizer, Dr. White explained. Human consciousness appears to have properties that strengthen quantum coherence in ways we don't fully understand yet. President Ross turned to Dr. Patel. Is this why they rejected our membership applications? Did they know about this? Dr. Patel shook her head. I don't think so. Their own scientists likely didn't understand it. They just knew things worked better when humans were around, but they attributed it to our social influence or technological contributions. The council room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Humanity had withdrawn from a galaxy that needed them in ways no one had realized. The aliens who had once looked down on humans as unpredictable and chaotic now faced collapse without them. This changes everything, said President Ross finally. If what you're saying is true, every alien civilization in the galaxy depends on human presence, whether they know it or not. Laura Chen smiled slightly. And that, Madam President, gives us the strongest negotiating position any species has ever held. 20 years after humanity's withdrawal, representatives from all major galactic powers gathered on Earth itself. This was unprecedented. Aliens had never before been invited to conduct diplomatic business on humanity's home planet. The Galactic Coalition had always considered Earth too biologically volatile to host important meetings. Now they had no choice. The Grand Hall in New Washington gleamed with polished stone and glass. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, illuminating the circular table where Earth's leaders sat facing the alien delegation. High Chancellor Vorkath and other alien leaders looked around nervously, unused to Earth's gravity and atmosphere despite the adjustments made for their comfort. President Olivia Ross stood to address the gathering. Unlike in previous diplomatic meetings, she made no attempt to appear humble or accommodating. For centuries, humanity reached out to the stars in friendship, she began. 3 times we petitioned to join your coalition as equals. 3 times we were rejected as unpredictable and chaotic. So we turned our backs on a galaxy that did not value us. The alien leaders shifted uncomfortably as she continued. In our absence, you discovered not just our value, but our necessity. The evidence is clear. Human presence stabilizes the very fabric of space in ways we are only beginning to understand. Without us, your civilizations face collapse. Greg Martinez placed a data pad on the table. On it was displayed the new treaty, a document unlike any in galactic history. These are our terms, President Ross continued. Full membership in the Galactic Coalition with equal representation, unrestricted access to alien technologies and resources, recognition of human sovereignty over the Sol system and all its colonies, and a formal acknowledgement of the error made in rejecting humanity's previous petitions. High Chancellor Vorkath, once the proudest voice against human membership, now nodded without hesitation. We accept these terms and offer our sincere apologies for our past short-sightedness. Humanity's unique role in our galaxy can no longer be denied. One by one, the alien leaders pressed their identification markers to the treaty, making it official under galactic law. Earth would return to galactic affairs, not as a newcomer begging for acceptance, but as a savior. As the signing ceremony concluded, President Ross addressed the assembly once more. Humanity turned its back on a galaxy that refused to see our worth. In our absence, you discovered not just our value, but our necessity. We return now, not as supplicants, but as saviors. Within days, human ships began deploying throughout the stars again. Captain Diane Powell stood on the bridge of the Ascended Asterisk, the first human vessel to re-enter the galactic core in 2 decades. Unlike the exploration vessels of the past, the Ascended Asterisk was built with Earth's new technologies, more advanced than anything the Coalition had seen. Looking at the spectacular array of alien worlds on her view screen, Diane smiled slightly. After years of commanding defense patrols around Earth, she was finally taking humanity back to the stars, on humanity's terms. Set course for the Galactic Council headquarters, she ordered, and broadcast on all frequencies. Humanity has returned. Her communications officer nodded. Message sent, Captain. We're receiving responses from dozens of systems already. Across thousands of alien worlds, the news spread quickly. In observation lounges and command centers, aliens watched as human ships appeared in their skies once more. Relief mixed with apprehension as they realized how deeply their fate was intertwined with these unpredictable, short-lived, remarkably essential beings from the 3rd planet of an unremarkable yellow star. On Earth, Dr. Maria White continued her research into the connection between human consciousness and quantum stability. The discovery had changed humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. Humans were not just another species among many. They were integral to the cosmic balance in ways no one had imagined. As the Ascended Asterisk docked at the Galactic Council station, Captain Powell was met by a delegation of the highest-ranking alien officials. They bowed deeply, a gesture they had never before offered to any human. "Welcome back," said the Tellurian Prime, the most scientifically advanced of all alien species. "The galaxy has been incomplete without humanity." Diane nodded, remembering the years of rejection and the hard lessons learned on both sides. "We're glad to return," she replied simply. "But this time, we do so as equals." The galaxy had learned its lesson. When humanity turned its back, the cosmos itself revealed how essential these chaotic, creative beings truly were.